Today we're going to be going over a bearing change for your one-wheel suspension system. We've gotten a lot of requests about this, and it's not an easy thing, but it can definitely be done with a little patience and a few tools. So first thing, you're going to need some kind of heat device. I love this thing. It was cheap, Walmart, real simple. You're going to need a little bit more red Loctite. You're also going to need a drill with a number 30 or a 1/8 drill bit. That's just in case. Let's hope you don't need that. If you do a good job heating, you should be able to avoid that. You may need a scribe or something pointy, something to dig these old dust seals out. And you're going to need a 2mm driver bit. We have MIP brand. These are incredible. You don't have to have the fancy stuff. So what you're going to get in your kit, your bearing swap, you're going to get one bag of long screws, and you're going to get one bag of short screws with some new lock washers in it. And you're also going to get your new bearings. We have swapped to stainless steel rails and balls, and we're now pressing M3 lock nuts into the rail, which is perfect because once you install everything, it's nice and flush. You don't have to mess with these old dust seals, and way easier to work on because now you have access to them from the outside. So first thing you're probably gonna do, you're gonna get your towers off. We've got an old one here and I've just got one side of bearings on it just to kind of show you what's up. So if you have the older sets, you may have these black or green dust caps that we were using beforehand. It's just a linear bearing, obviously, dust cap. So if you do, take your pointy object, pop those out, at least the ones you can get to for now. Pretty simple. I just go right in the middle, give them a schwack, and then prime them up. So you're going to notice you run out of real estate down here pretty quick. You can't get to this bottom screw. These lower blocks are going to have to come off. That's where the torch comes in play. These are red Loctited on because they really like to walk out. So we put lock washers and red Loctite on them. And I just kind of give these a little, 5 or 10 count. The more the better. Something that I learned is Loctite is actually liquid plastic, which is why it's so good, so effective. But that's also why heat it'll just destroy it, and it'll make it easy to get those screws out just like that. And if you put it on there and you get it and it feels like it's just not like it's going to turn loose, go back at it with the heat. It'll help a lot. If you really take your time with the heat process, you won't strip them. If you do strip one out, not a big deal. Especially, you're going to be changing your bearings out. I mean, if you're reusing them, it's a little bit more of a pain. You kind of got to be, you don't want to go crazy on it. But let's say, boom, we just stripped that one out. That's okay. We'll take our drill and our drill bit. Of course, I got this fancy table. And you're just gonna kind of, right there where the head's already got an indentation, you've already got a nice little pilot hole. So you'll just set her up in there and kind of start her out slow with a little bit of pressure, and just go slow. If you don't, you'll just burn your drill bit up. Look at that. Head just popped right off. So now, there's your screw that we drilled. Boom, your lower block will pop right off. You've got a shank stuck in here. No big deal. Get you some vice grips or some pliers and just spin that baby right out of there. Again, you may have to go back in there with some heat. And if you're going to reuse your bearings, be careful with that heat, because these are dust seals on the bottom of the bearings right here. You don't want to burn those up. But you just get it in there and you're just trying to burn off that Loctite. Look at that. Slick as a button. Okay, now you have access to all your fasteners. Let's go ahead and pop that dust seal off. Now you've got the fasteners securing your bearing to your tower. So what I like to do is come from this side. These were also red Loctited on if these are threaded and coming in from this way. If it's the new style like this, you're fine. You don't have to heat these up because it's just a lock nut in the rail. But for argument's sake, let's say this one is the old style. So we're going to go through and heat these bad boys up to melt that Loctite. Again, more heat the better. I mean, you don't want to melt the aluminum, but you know, give her the onion. Boom, look at that. Look how easy that just pops right out of there. Okay, now you got your old bearings off, no problemo. Obviously this is a brand new one. So we'll go to the items that we received in our kit. We got our new bearings, we got our long screws, all that good jazz. If you have the old style towers that are tapped and threaded right here, instead of through holes with the counter bores, which look like this. See the through holes with the counter bore, the little step down. That's no problemo. You're gonna take your drill bit again. And you're gonna ream these bad boys out. They should ream through pretty easy. And you know, just because we're professionals, you don't have to have any fancy tools. Just get you a bigger size drill bit, and you'll take it and you'll just like it right there, and that just deburrs the hole, you know, makes a nice clean hole. I'd do the same thing on the other side. You never know, one of these things might end up on the moon one day. NASA might need you. So there you go. Now you got through holes. So because the old ones don't have counter bores, hopefully we catch that before, but we might just send out 2 different packs of screws. We may send out 8mm long ones and 9mm long ones. If you have the old style tower that doesn't have the counter bore, you're gonna need 9mm. The 8mm will work, but it's not gonna sit flush like this, and you can get, you know, a little bit of dirt in there, and that's not good for the bearings. So 9mm is better. If we do catch it and everything, that's good. We may just send out both sizes just to be sure. So at this point, I'm fancy and I have a custom milled table. But I can take my new bearings, pin them, set it on there. We're going to show you a couple different sizes here, just so you know the difference in the, you know what you're getting. So here's the 9mm. We'll pop this bad boy in there. Set to the side. Then we'll put an 8mm in there. So you guys can see what I'm talking about. So see how nice and flush that sits. And see how that one just has a little bit of a recess. Not much, it's not bad, and it's still locking. No big deal. But that's the right way to do it. Of course, like I said, if you have the counterbore towers, that's not an issue. So at that point, you'll go through, you'll install all your bearing fasteners. Again, you don't need any Loctite. You can put it on there if you want to, but that's a little bit overkill. With the new bearings are going to have lock nuts pressed into them. Makes life a lot easier. So let's say that you are doing the 5.0 conversion. You got the kit. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get 2 towers without bearings, unless you order bearings too, which is no problem. You can do that, and you will get your towers with bearings on them. So let's say we got our towers. We ordered bearings too, so we're ready to rock. So at this point, we're just going to take our bearing block that we removed earlier. Remember, we had to drill the one out. It's no problem. Can't even see it. There are 2 different sides. You've got the motor wire side. It looks a little bit different. It has the little channel milled into it. And obviously it has that kind of profile. It's going to go right there. And the other side, what we call the harness side, will have this little smiley face jobber in it, and have a little bit simpler block. Obviously that'll go right there. So we're cooking with peanut oil now. At this point, I usually go ahead, just the way I have my setup going, I normally just go ahead and I'll put a drop of Loctite. I'll use red here. I've heard orange is really good. We use red just because it's the real deal. So you go through and you put a drop in each hole. And then go through, put my lock washers on. It's good enough for now. Then I take my 6mm fasteners. That's with come out of this bag. I do have a pattern that I normally do. Just seems to help line everything up. You want these bearings to be as smooth as they can be. I'll show you what that pattern is. And it could be different for different applications too. You may just have to go back through and retorque them. So you'll start, you know, I usually start on the insides, do one, and then I'll do the opposing side outer one there. And then if I put one here, it'll be there. And then once you've got those 4 tightened, you just throw the rest of them in and should be pretty smooth. If it's not, you can go back through and kind of break them loose just a little bit, kind of retighten them, slide it up, should feel pretty good. I normally will take a little bit of lithium grease. That's just what I prefer. I usually put a little bit in this channel here, the Bart way as we call it, because Bart kept breaking bearings, and we had to add that in there. You can also put a little bit on your rails, and that'll help your bearings stay good and greased up. But anyways, once you get that done and you get all of your fasteners in, you're ready to put this back on your board. You're good to go.